slips my shorts off and starts giving me oral sex, and my eyes instantly open, and he's got his out jerking off, and I'm frozen in fear. I'm gripping the side of the chair, and I can't breathe, and my mind is racing, and I'm paralyzed. And as a grown man, that's what haunted me my whole life, is that I froze whenever he touched me. He finished off, gave me another beer, told me this is our little secret, what happened here today. And to the best of my ability, I just tried to put that out of my mind. At age 12, he concocts this giant story that he needs my help. And it ends up with me being at his house. And driving to his house, he picked me up down at the lake area. I'm like freaking out, going back to the house. And we get in there, and he has me chug blackberry bread. And then he fills it up again. Come on, have another blackberry. And I was so nervous going back to that house, I actually wanted to have a drink. And a Budweiser, my second glass of blackberry bread. And we end up on his bed. And we end up with our clothes off. And I end up with him behind me in a bear hug with him behind me. And he starts raping me. And he starts raping me. And I start screaming. And I start crying. And this fuck whispers in my ear, my 12-year-old ear, just another minute so he can finish himself off. At that moment, I felt like I was the only person on the face of the planet. Nobody heard my screams. Nobody came to my rescue. It was just me and this evil entity raping me. And what happened next was worse than the rape that just occurred. He sat me down, cleaned me up like a nice guy, sat me down at his kitchen table, got me a beer, and he had what's called a coon dog. Coon dogs have a long, drawn-out howl. And his dog heard my cries and screams during the rape and started howling and would not stop howling. Dennis went and got his dog, brought it right in front of me, and said, I want to show you what will happen if you ever open up your mouth about what just occurred. And he took his big, meaty fist and he started punching his dog. And I'm screaming, Dennis, please, stop. And he's punching. And his dog lay in a heap at my feet. And to me, that was worse than the rape, because I felt responsible for that dog, because it was only howling because of my cries. Fast forward years later, I'm in a deli getting a coffee, making a coffee at the island, and the door opens up, and I look up, and it's my rapist, Dennis Pegg, and he sees me, and he yells out to me like we're best friends, "Hey, Clark!" And I start instantly going into a panic attack. And walking in right behind him is a young boy about the age he raped me at. And that young boy calls him the same nickname he used to insist I call him. And Dennis is starting to make his way to me, probably to give me a hug or a high five or a handshake, and I just ran right by him. We shoulder bumped, I ran right by him, I hopped in my pickup truck, I sped out of the parking lot, I started going down the road, flying down the road, I started punching my steering wheel, yelling, "Motherfucker!" I started spitting on my floor, and my life collapsed that day. I spent the rest of the day out, drinking, doing coke, popping Xanax. I stopped at an Italian restaurant I always frequented, and there was a guy in there who had burned me on a business deal. And he and I had words. And my friend says, that guy's gotta be #1 on your hit list. And before I could stop the words, I couldn't control my mouth. I said, he's actually #2 on my hit list. The piece of shit who raped me as a kid is #1. The piece of shit who raped me as a kid is #1 on my hit list, and there's dead silence. My friends just stare at me, and for the first time in my life, I've never told anybody about the rape. I just let it out. My friend starts asking me some questions. Who is he? Where does he live? And within 15 minutes, we're driving to his house to go confront him. I'm like, let's confront this motherfucker. I look from outside his house in, ran up his driveway. His front door was open. His screen door was shut. And there he was sitting there watching TV. It's 9:30 at night. He doesn't have a care in the world. And before I could freeze in his driveway, I marched up to that screen door and I ripped it open. And here I am, a childhood rape victim of his, who's just ripped open his screen door at 9:30 at night. And this fucking whack job looks over his shoulder, calmly as can be, and goes, "Hey, how are you?" I go, "Hey, how am I, motherfucker? Let me show you how the fuck I am." And I raced across his fucking living room, and I had a knife in my hand, and I started stabbing at him. And he started throwing haymakers at me. And a violent, bloody struggle ensued. At one point, he connected with a shot squarely to my jaw, and I started falling down. And I grabbed his shirt with my left hand to hold myself up. And I came down with, I yelled, "You motherfucker," and I came down with the knife, and I put the knife straight through my hand. And I severed all the ligaments and tendons in it. The fight lasted just a couple minutes. He fell down in blood, and I knelt down in front of him, and I looked him in the eye, and I said, "It's not so fun raping little boys now, is it?" I slit his throat. And before I left that house, in my bloody footprints, I walked over to the bedroom he raped me in, and I spit on his bed.